People think moving is just boxes and trucks, but that is not really the case. Moving is stressful because of the logistics, the planning. It's stressful because of everything that you own. And it's even more stressful if you don't know what to do with it. Most people underestimate how complex the process really is. This is where moves start to fall apart, and that's where John Walsh comes in with his company, Walsh Senior Solutions. Welcome back to the Wilton Report. I'm Josh Wilton, and tonight we're going to get you out of your current house into the next one, pain-free, stress-free, with the help of our friend, John Walsh. Welcome back to the Wilton Report. I am Josh Wilton, and this is pretty much your go-to place for everything Princeton and Greater Princeton real estate. So if you haven't hit subscribe, please do so to see more episodes like this. Tonight, I'm very pleased that we have a guest. He's a colleague and a friend of mine. His name is John Walsh. He runs a company called Walsh Senior Solutions, and we'll get into what that is in a minute. So John, why don't you introduce yourself, how long you've lived in the Princeton area, and then we'll transition into what is Walsh Senior Solutions.
Sure. Great to be here. Thanks, Josh. My name is John Walsh, owner of Walsh Senior Solutions. We're based in Princeton, New Jersey. I grew up in Princeton. So right after high school, went down to Philadelphia for my undergrad at UPenn, and then was working in New York City in the risk and insurance industry for about 15 years. And then I moved back to the Princeton area. I currently live in Pennington Borough, and we moved here about 3 months before COVID. So I launched the business about 8 years ago.
So let's get into what is the business. Like, let's be clear about what Walsh Senior Solutions is, because it's a broad name. So let's be clear for everybody what it is exactly that you do.
Absolutely. We are a decluttering, downsizing, organizing, and moving company. So we have the term senior in our name because a lot of our clients are of the 55 plus population. We do help families of all ages, and we help two categories of people: those that are actually in the process of moving or will be moving soon. And we also help families that want to remain in their home and be in their home for a long time, but might need some help with some decluttering, some organizing, junk removal, cleaning out the garage, attic, basement, and just making some more space for their busy lives.
So to translate that for everybody, the first thing that you do, and this is important because this is really, we're going to tie this to real estate, is you will go into a house and you will help a family, right? Or whomever's living in the house, an estate, people living in the house, assess all of their stuff that they may have accumulated over 30 years of living in this place, correct?
Correct.
You assess it, and then you will help them declutter. And by that, you mean literally donate some of it. You'll help facilitate the sale of some of it. What else do you do with, like, in that space?
Sure. We essentially help to triage, as you said, possibly 30, 40, 50 years of accumulation in the house, help to make them make the right decisions for themselves, figure out what items are important to them. For those families that might be moving to a smaller floor plan and downsizing, helping them to figure out what of their current furniture and items can actually appropriately fit, down to the level of like how many hangers of clothing and where the artwork and TV and everything is going to go in their new place. And then we help put a plan in place for the excess possessions that are not going with them to the new home. We do help with a lot of like the adult children. This is a pretty overwhelming and stressful period for not only the homeowner, but also their entire family. So we oftentimes help to keep important things in the family, helping them to be packed and shipped and sent to wherever the adult children or friends and family are located. And then, as I said, put a plan in place. Might be coordinating the sale of excess items that have value, might be through an auction house, might be through a consignment store, might be an in-person, in-home estate sale, might be an online auction, might be some online selling. For the things that are unsold, we also help with the donation of furniture, books, clothing, lawn and garden things. So we try to keep things out of landfills and find great second homes for them. A lot of times they are local charitable nonprofit organizations It has become a lot harder to kind of get rid of your quote unquote stuff, especially your bigger furniture pieces and things like that, especially coming out of COVID. A lot of those kind of free pickup organizations are not free anymore, or they don't pick up, or they don't actually enter your house. So you had a big armoire or sleeper sofa or kind of heavy things from the second floor down to the driveways is a lot for especially our older clients. So we as a moving company have
for anybody.
have the muscle, the labor, and the wherewithal to figure out what to do with all the items. We do provide junk removal, so similar to like a 1-800-GOT-JUNK, but we're trying to keep things out of landfills and have it be environmentally sustainable. Anything that is donated in the client's name, and we scan and email the tax donation receipt to them.
So let's recap this. He will come in, do an assessment with you for you, right? Like it's, and I know you and I've worked with you with clients. It's very collaborative, very polite. Like unlike me, I'm like, just throw it all out. You're like, no, like let's go through it, right? And he'll do an assessment. And then the nice part is you give them a plan. Like you triage it and you say, look, we can do X, Y, and Z. And then his team physically does the move. So it says Senior Solutions, which is why I want to spend a minute on it. He's moved me. I'm still not qualifying as a senior. So he'll just move you too. Like he can just do a move, but so that's what you do. Let's talk about your genesis in getting into this business, because it is a pretty interesting story.
Sure. So 2016, I was living in New York City, had gotten engaged, planning a wedding, and life tapped my sister and I on the shoulder. Unfortunately, my mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's that year, and my dad with Parkinson's that year. They were living near the Princeton shopping center in a home of 20 years that they moved into when I was like a junior in high school. And it was townhouse style, big basement, had a lot of storage, and really kind of my parents were struggling. They were having certainly a lot of health issues. And my sister and I kind of came to the forefront and helped them. And we didn't know what we didn't know, frankly, and engaged with an elder care attorney to update the will. We worked with a realtor and a home stager to get the house ready and sold. Then we also realized that my parents also had a storage unit near the Princeton airport for 5 years. So we also had to tackle that as well. But the whole process of doing it, me in New York City, my sister, who was a nurse practitioner background in Philadelphia, it was completely overwhelming. It was really chaotic. And I had to hire 7 different companies.
Right. And that's exactly right. So fair to say, you couldn't find any one person to go, let's do every phase in the move.
Correct. Everybody had their own different pricing structure. Some had fees or commissions. I would like rent U-Hauls on the weekend to come out and help to donate things. And I didn't know what places accepted things. This is before I launched my business. So I'd fill up a U-Haul that I rented when I came out on the weekend, and they would only accept half of it. And then I'd have to put the other half back on the truck, bring it back to my parents' house just to return the U-Haul to get back to New York City that weekend. And it was like incredibly
torture, literally torture, physical and mental torture. So
it was probably the most difficult time of my life. And I also got married during that year as well.
You took on life's most stressful stuff. So at what point did you decide, like you looked left, you looked right, and you go, there's a business here? Like,
absolutely.
Lemons and lemonade, I guess, right? Like, I mean, you literally went through this and launched the business.
So 2016, when this all occurred, was shortly after I finished up my MBA at Fordham University in Lincoln Center in New York. I did it part-time, a 4-year period while I was working full-time. So I used to be working insurance, a lot of the sales, underwriting, and operation side. So working for a Swiss insurance company, I think definitely rubbed off. They're very efficient. They like to plan things and prepare. And I realized that every person that I know has aging parents, and my parents are not going to be the only ones that are going through this or will go through this. But it was an incredibly fragmented process. There was no kind of one-stop shop. There was no, everybody did a little sliver of the pie, but nobody was talking to each other. And there's kind of certainly a lot of opportunities for things to get lost in translation, especially if for those that are like downsizing, like my parents were. They moved to a townhouse for about 15 months, and they then after that went to a continued care retirement community outside of Philadelphia in the same town my sister lives in. So just even learning about kind of going on 19 tours of various senior living communities when my parents were thinking of staying in the Princeton area. They were very close to going to Meadow Lakes, and then they decided to go to Pennsylvania. But so I launched the business in the spring of 2018. So it's been about 8 years. We've helped about 4,500 families.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and
that's an incredible number, right? Like, and let's just talk to the aspiring entrepreneurs out there. How were your first 6 months? You had a big job in New York. You just got your MBA. You just got married. Did you have kids yet, or no?
No kids. We were
no kids yet. All right, but still, life responsibilities, right? And then all of a sudden, now you're running your own business. How was the first 6 months of being the CEO, chief cook and bottle washer of Walsh Senior Solutions? Like,
it was very, very stressful. I mean, leaving more of like a 9-to-5 type career and launching a business on your own, you're essentially just signing up to work 24/7.
Yeah.
So the month that I launched the business was the month that my wife got pregnant. So we were living in a rental in Princeton Junction before we moved to Pennington. I was just doing it on my own. I was renting U-Hauls and just kind of doing smaller jobs as I was kind of formulating the idea and kind of really solidifying it. And then I've grown to hire people. We have a team of 11 team members now. But I very quickly had to get a cortisone shot in my ankle and my elbow because I was doing a lot of manual labor. And like I played lacrosse in college. I think I'm a pretty physical guy, but like going from sitting behind a desk in kind of a insurance job where you're wearing a suit every day to wearing what I wear now and getting like 20,000 steps in a day. It was a big transition.
Up and down steps carrying a bureau. Like, come on, like it's a completely different thing. So what advice would you, let's do this. Cause I mean, I run my own business. We have multiple businesses that we own and operate here. And, you know, everyone's like, oh, it must be so great. I'm like, I don't see you at my office Saturday morning at 6:30 in the morning. I'm walking in at Saturday morning at 6:30. What advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur from a guy who's crossed that bridge?
Absolutely. I mean, certainly the personal experience helped to shape the business. What I learned in business school was very, very helpful. And I think I really capitalized on like the referral networks, realtors, estate attorneys, senior living communities, kind of the list goes on and on of kind of their almost end up being kind of my like unpaid sales team. But what we do for those types of people in those jobs also like clears the obstacles in their way as well. So I certainly learned that like networking is incredibly important in this job. There was a little bit of like a fake it till you make it type feel in the early goings. But I enjoy making things less stressful and creating some kind of order out of chaos. And for every client that becomes a client of ours, we're essentially signing up to their stress level to a certain extent and just trying to reduce it overall. So
that's it. Look, that's a great segue, by the way, right? So a homeowner that doesn't invest in prep, and the first phase of prep is getting your stuff out of your house as much as you can, right? This is before we paint it or stage it or whatever. So I would say a homeowner who doesn't declutter, right? You don't have to move out of the house, but like get all the stuff you're not bringing with you out. So let's just call that decluttering. Prep, and I'll call that the painting stage, fix the banister, fix the thing that, you know, makes noise. I don't know, whatever. The physical prep stage. And then the staging phase is when we bring in furniture, we zhuzh the house. Homeowners who don't invest in that probably, in my opinion, leave 10% of their equity on the table. And at the prices we are at in our market, that's a very significant number. So let's transition and talk specifically to people who are thinking of selling and they don't even want to deal with it because they have so much stuff. What would you say to that and not that they're hoarders, but they've just been living in their house for 25 years. And they're like, I want to move, but like, what am I going to do with all this stuff? Step one, what would you tell those folks to do?
Beyond call us so we can help, I would say thoroughly walk through your house with a roll of green painter's tape and red painter's tape, and label with green anything that you want to actually keep, and label with red anything that you're wanting to sell or donate or discard. Those are things that you can only do on your own as the homeowner. A company like mine can't just make those decisions for you. We can kind of lead you to decisions and tell you how many hangers of clothing can fit, things like that. But we don't know what's exactly important to you. And the reality is, like, people might not be a hoarder, but they might have like aggressive amounts of accumulation. And if someone walks in your home for an open house, they're just going to see your stuff. They're not going to actually see the house, and they're going to immediately get turned off.
What family room? I just saw all the stuff piled against the wall or whatever. I didn't even know there was a family room in that house. So it had a 3-car garage, and you didn't see it because, it's full of stuff. So that's a pretty simple thing people can do. They can red tag it, green tag it. Red tag means go, green means stay, right?
Correct.
So, and they can do that on their own. They can just start going through, right, and doing that. If someone's thinking of selling their house, let's just say in September, right, and we are currently in end of March, beginning of April, how far out should they call you, John? Because this is where I think you can't spend enough time as a seller investing in this space.
So we get engaged at all times, but I would say probably like 6 weeks prior to wanting to list the house. It usually takes us about like 2, maybe 3 sessions to get a house ready for real estate photos if the homeowner is living in the house and is keeping their own furniture in the house. What we usually do first is actually clean out the garage. And what the garage ends up being is like a storage unit on their property that they already pay property taxes for. And no garage is actually going to be photographed in the real estate photos. So it becomes this kind of transient area that we can pull big things like an armoire or a china cabinet or things like that from inside the house into the garage, and get the inside of the house, the areas that are actually going to be photographed, get those looking as sparse as possible.
Exactly right. Now you've been doing this and you've moved 4,500 people, which I still find that an incredible number, and I hear it often, right, when we talk to people. What's the number one mistake people make in the decluttering, getting rid of stuff world?
So I think it's a combination of not doing any floor planning, and by that measuring their current furniture and comparing that to where they're going and figuring out what of their current furniture can actually fit.
And that's something you help with, right?
Correct. I can tell you if the 3-seater couch is going to be able to fit along the wall that you want it to fit on. Oftentimes what we do is actually take the measurements of your future primary bedroom and then use painter's tape and put it on the floor of your current primary bedroom and say, here is what your future is going to look like. And they can then visualize, is that tall highboy dresser going to be able to fit or no? Do you have enough space to even walk between the dresser and the bed, for example, things like that.
Got it. So it's amazing level of detail you go through on behalf of your clients to help them move. So that's the number one mistake that people make, is not planning the stuff in the future space. And then safe to say, they bring their old stuff to the new space, and it's like, this couch is too big, or my bed doesn't fit, or, and then they're moving twice.
It's covering the thermostat or the light switch, kind of things like that.
Right. By an inch, right? That 1 inch is pretty irritating. So you literally prevent people from having to move twice. Is that a fair statement?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So about 6 weeks out before you're getting ready to sell, they can start red tagging, green tagging. You'll attack the garage first, get that ready as a staging area to get their stuff out. And then what do you do? Like, if they're like, John, I only want to bring a little bit, you deal with the rest, right? How do you deal with the rest? Like,
Sure. So we're able to determine kind of what is sellable items of their excess kind of red tag items that they're not keeping. And that's where we play the role of matchmaker between their items and either selling resources or buying resources. So we don't like buy things from clients directly. We help them coordinate the sale of those items. So it might be taking a lot of photos and sending them to auction houses, consignment stores, maybe to an estate sale company. It also depends upon where they live. So if they live in maybe a development that doesn't have really any overflow parking, the homeowners association is probably not going to allow you to have an in-person estate sale. So that crosses that option of selling off the list. And that brings kind of more focus into consignment store or auction house. There are alternatives to an in-person estate sale, it's called an online auction. So everything is just photographed and sold online. And then there's a one-day pickup where people arrive at a certain time slot to pick up the items that they've already bought and paid for. So really depends upon the quantity of the items that they have, the quality of the items that they have, and then also kind of where they live in terms of the community, kind of what they would allow or not allow.
Got it. Okay. So what advice would you give to somebody that's just kind of like, and we meet with them regularly, you and I do it together, and, like they're just starting to think about selling. But again, they have a lot of stuff and they're like, what do I do? Like, other than the red tag, green tag, is it as simple as call John Walsh?
It could be. I mean, our process, everything that we're engaged with starts with a free consultation walkthrough and cost estimate. We develop a scope of work. It might be that they're not wanting to move for the next year or so, but they kind of want to help kind of chip away at their accumulation that they have. And we might just provide a cost estimate for a certain room or area. It might be the garage or the basement or the attic. Those are usually the areas that kind of create a lot of stress, and obviously a lot of things accumulate in those areas. And they're really kind of like a monkey on their back that we can help to remove for them, which really reduces their stress.
Yeah. And you came into this, I think one of the most fascinating, in a way, like heartwarming stories, like your parents were, you're driving back and forth to Mercer County from New York City on the weekends. You're going to school. You just got met, like you got a job. Like it gets so intense to help your folks in these situations, right? And I went through it. My mom was not well. Like she lives an hour away. I lived an hour away. She passed. It's a lot. Like it's a lot, and it takes a lot out of you. So you came into this business in a very interesting way. Obviously, done very well. And I can tell you on behalf of all the real estate people in Mercer County, we're very grateful you're doing what you're doing. Is there one specific story that like would say like, it just sort of captures your imagination of like the one family, like it was the quintessential picture perfect, like this is why I went into the business moment? Is there a story that you could share?
Sure. Yes. So we helped, this is probably like four or 5 years ago, we helped a woman who had some sort of dementia. She moved up from Florida, from like a 5-bedroom large home in Florida to a assisted living apartment at Brandywine Assisted Living in Livingston, New Jersey. So I had just done like a sales meeting with the Brandywine's executive director and their sales and marketing, sharing with them all of our services and how we can help. And about two days later, they're like, we have a urgent issue. What ended up happening is the woman was moving up to Livingston because her son lived there, lived nearby. And she was moving into a 600 square foot, 1-bedroom assisted living apartment. So in assisted living, there's no stove, but she had a 1-bedroom, and the moving company that she engaged with, and they were asked to bring 600 boxes to a 160 square foot 1-bedroom. She had not flown up to New Jersey yet, but her 600 boxes and bed and sofa and everything had already arrived. The executive director that I just met with 2 days ago called me. He was like, we've declared this apartment unlivable because of the quantity of items that are in it. The new resident has not arrived yet, but we need some help decluttering the entire apartment so it can be livable. So what ended up happening is I got engaged with her son and daughter who live nearby. Luckily, like 2 doors down on the same floor as the woman's apartment was an empty 1-bedroom. We literally took 600 boxes out of her apartment and triaged all of that with the assistance of her adult children, and then identified what she actually does need and loves and actually could fit, and then set it back up. But the end result was, I think she paid like $19,000 for the Florida moving company to move all that up. Then she had to pay my team to triage all that. We ended up donating like a full truckload, like a 26-foot truck, to multiple charities, because there's so much volume, no one charity would take it all. So we had to like kind of go down from Livingston down to the Princeton area, like hitting charities along the way. Luckily not resolved, but it was like, moving and downsizing is incredibly stressful, but especially if you're bringing like that much quantity of items, it's very overwhelming, and it certainly led to an issue. Luckily, she wasn't living there yet or on the premises yet, but her children were great to work with, and we were happy to kind of solve that big issue for them.
Right. And I can say, like, on behalf of myself personally, because you've helped me personally, and I've interacted with his team. They are meticulous. Like, I literally gave him the keys to my house. I'm like, see you later. And I went back to work, and I came home. I was moved out of one house into the other, like clickety clack. It was amazing. So on behalf of myself, but then the real estate community in Mercer County, like, we do thank you, because you do help our clients immeasurably. So we're going to wrap it there. I hope what people take away is, like, there is I'll call it a one-stop solution for all of this. And his name is John Walsh. The name of his company is Walsh Senior Solutions. John, how do people find you, whether it's your website and or social or your business number?
Sure. So our website is walshseniorsolutions.com. At the top of every page is a request a free consultation button. I'll capture all the information that I need, and then we'll reach out to set up a in-person walkthrough. On social media, Facebook is Walsh Senior Solutions, and on Instagram is also Walsh Senior Solutions. So it's great to be back in the Princeton area. My mom was a realtor for 30 years, so great to interface with a lot of people she used to work with. And it's great to help families of all ages. So this week we've helped people in their 90s and in their 30s. So it's the same process, regardless of age.
You get everybody. And they go, I'm not a senior. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Just talk to John. Yeah. He'll take care of it. Literally, I go, he'll just take care of everything. That's literally like, don't worry about it. Don't think too hard. Just talk to John. He's got it sorted out. So, John, thank you for coming on the Wilton Report. I appreciate your time. And for everybody thinking about moving, if you want that consultation, go to walshseniorsolutions.com. And then when you're done with John, you can give me a call and we'll get you the best value for your home. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do. My name is Josh Wilton, and this is the Wilton Report. Thanks, everybody.
Take care.